Lost drugs have exploded in popularity, and scammers on social media have taken notice. Anna Warner has the story and shows us the new research that reveals how dangerous these scams can be.
Come check this.
Look at some of the videos researchers found. Scammers, they say, flashing stacks of weight loss drugs, supposedly selling those popular drugs at a low cost without a prescription. Sometimes using people's testimonials.
Hey guys, I'm doing my first Mounjaro shot.
Along with before and after photos showing fabulous results. One video featuring a supposed customer's comment, "Great product, fast shipping, and I lost 16 pounds already." But the researchers say all of those videos were actually scams to lure in vulnerable buyers. The Digital Citizens Alliance's Tom Galvin.
As we searched for them, over time, because of TikTok's algorithm, they begin to search for us. So it was not hard to find several dozen operators offering Ozempic. In every case that we found, they have been scams.
Galvin says he had dozens of online chats with sellers, some claiming to be legitimate pharmacies, offering to ship Ozempic, Mounjaro, and Wegovy. The alleged scammers accepted payments through online services like Zelle, PayPal, and Venmo, but the researchers say they never received any products. TikTok told us in response it has removed accounts in the report that violated its guidelines. The company says it proactively identifies 95% of the content it removes for violating its rules against drugs and scams in the U.S. But Galvin says consumers who are duped by ads can be harmed in a number of ways.
One is that you'll be defrauded. Two is that you'll get drugs and they'll be counterfeit and be harmful. And three is you'll actually get Ozempic, but not using Ozempic under a doctor's care can be dangerous. And all three of those things are very bad outcomes for Americans.
Anna Warner, CBS News, New York.
A TikTok spokesperson said that the study has limitations because it only found a handful of problem accounts, and that prescription drug scams can be found on other social media channels as well, not just TikTok. The maker of Ozempic and Wegovy told that team that did this story that their products have varying dosages and should not be used without a medical professional's care and advice. Well, changing gears, Netflix has announced a 3-year partnership with the National Football League to broadcast the Christmas Day games live. This year, Netflix will air 2 holiday games, and then next year and in 2026, it will stream at least 1. Now, financial terms of the deal were not disclosed. The NFL already partners with most streaming platforms, including Thursday night games on Amazon and Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV. Well, coming up on the next half hour of Valley News Live at 4, today is night and day compared to yesterday. First Alert Storm Team Summer Schnellbach will let us know how much more rain we can expect.